Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue. I'm Ken MacKillop, Associate Deputy Minister at Veterans Affairs Canada and a veteran of the mission in Afghanistan, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies today. Je suis Ken MacKillop, sous-ministre délégué à Anciens Combattants Canada et un vétéran de notre mission en Afghanistan. Je serai votre maître de cérémonie aujourd'hui. Before we get underway, just to let you know that we do have photographers on site, as you've noticed this morning, and we're going to use some of those, or we could use some of those photos in our materials. So if you are uncomfortable with your photo being taken, please let one of the Veterans Affairs Canada staff know, and one of our employees will make sure that we don't use those. Thank you. Pour ceux et celles qui nous voient sur Facebook, cette annonce est accessible dans la langue de votre choix sur Facebook aussi. And to begin today, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the National Capital Region and on the traditional unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. Thank you, Elder Chatra, for welcoming us to your territory. We also value the contributions of the Inuit, the Métis, and other Indigenous peoples who have made this province their community. I'd like to ask Elder Jane Chatra to lead us in prayer. Elder Chatra.
Kwekwe, Onin, Sego, Bonjour, and Bonjour. I am Elder Jane Chartrand. I am the matriarch of my family. The matriarch is supposed to be the wise one. So some days I wear that hat well, and other days I don't. It is indeed my honor to be here today, for many of my family have served in uniform. And I would like to say this prayer that we always say for our people. Kichimanadu, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for Grandfather's Son. He brought the light from the darkness. We wish to thank you for the birds that fly and the fish that swim and the four-leggeds. The four-leggeds take us to the medicines. It is time of replenishing. The fish are in the rivers, in the Nibi, the water. They are replenishing. They come back. It is their duty. We wish to thank you for the medicines that grow and for our people that have been far away from us, our veterans. They are the ones that look after that peacekeeping. We ask you, Ichimanadu, to keep them forever in your hearts as we do. We wish to thank you for all that is on the land for us to use and to teach us still to only take what we need. We ask you to look after the two-leggeds. The people, we are the people that can see and hear and feel and think. We are the people of the land. Miigwech. And before I go, I have written a poem, and I have permission to read it to you. I call myself an event writer. When things happen, I write about it. So please, I've created a visual. Close your eyes and listen. Where the ocean breezes blow, where the sun sets low, in a far and distant land, lies our loved ones from long ago. He was a son and a brother, and like no other, he gave his life that day for freedom. So step off with the piper, step off with the drum. Bow your heart and pray. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. You've taken care of my son for me. He once was lost, and now we found. He went home to live with thee. Veterans took soil from this land, with tobacco and medicine in hand, to that land far across the sea. Thunder horses guided them on their quest. Rainbows followed them across the skies. Sweetgrass, tobacco, cedar, sage guided the ceremony into the circle. Eagles took prayers to Creator who honored the request to bring the spirits of our loved ones home to rest in the West. Bring back the pony soldiers. Bring back the best. Bring home my heart's request. Bring their spirits home to you and me. Amazing grace, it is a sweet sound. It's all in our hearts to see. Gather round and share your tears. You've suffered a loss, just like me. Come sit by my side, and we'll talk about how it used to be. Miigwech, thank you.
Chi Miigwech, Elder Chartrand, and welcome everybody to the Canadian War Museum. The halls around us tell us so many stories of defining moments in Canada's military history and the ways in which our contributions in global conflicts, among others, have helped to shape our nation. Le mandat du musée est, entre autres, d'accroître la connaissance, la compréhension et le degré d'appréciation de la population à l'égard de l'événement, d'expériences, de personnes et d'objets qui incarnaient l'histoire et l'identité canadienne. Our mission in Afghanistan has so marked the modern era of Canadian military history. The exhibition galleries that surround us make for the ideal backdrop for today's announcement. Caroline Dromaguet, President and CEO of the Canadian War Museum, is with us this morning, and she knows a thing or two about how spending time in these halls can help enhance our awareness of world history and culture. So I'd like to invite Mr. Dromaguet to say a few words about the museum and how it commemorates Canada's mission in Afghanistan. Caroline.
Merci, Ken. And thank you, Elder Chartrand, for your prayer, blessing, and poem on these proceedings. Alors, mesdames et messieurs, honorables invités, je vous souhaite la bienvenue. Alors, comme Ken le mentionnait, mon nom est Caroline Dromaguet. Je suis la présidente directrice générale du Musée canadien de l'histoire et le Musée canadien de la guerre où nous nous trouvons aujourd'hui. So here at the museum, it is our privilege to be able to share the stories of our military men and women. It is also our duty to explore conflict and war from the time of this country's earliest peoples to our most recent military operations and interventions. Quiconque connaît le musée connaîtra aussi la section de nos galeries sur le Canada et les conflits consacrés à la guerre en Afghanistan. Il importe de nous rappeler et de comprendre le vécu de plus de 40 000 Canadiens et Canadiennes qui y ont servi, les 158 vies sacrifiées, les nombreuses personnes qui, ici ou à l'étranger, ont fourni un soutien essentiel aux forces armées, ainsi que les séquelles tenaces de la guerre. Over the years, this museum has also marked the war and its impact in exhibitions such as Afghanistan, A Glimpse of War, and The Wounded, in which Canadians in combat revealed physical and mental scars and the ways that war shapes and scars those who have served this country. We are also proud to provide a means for veterans to share their memories of war and how it echoes through their lives. Our ongoing oral history project, In Their Own Voices, includes accounts from a number of veterans of Afghanistan and their families. As veterans and their loved ones share their stories, particularly the post-war experiences that inform their lives, it will hopefully become clear to current and future generations that no one ever really leaves war behind. Monuments to conflict and our armed forces are essential to commemorate and remembrance. And it is wonderful to see the veterans of Afghanistan being honored with this new memorial. We are also very pleased to know that it will be located just beyond these windows across the street. Grâce au monument de l'Afghanistan et au monument national de l'Holocauste de l'autre côté, ce musée est fier de servir de carrefour pour une réflexion sur ce que coûtent les conflits et le service des Canadiens et Canadiennes qui ont répondu à l'appel de leur pays. L'histoire d'un pays est la somme de tous les récits qu'il raconte à son sujet et qu'il se raconte à lui-même. Nos histoires individuelles ne sont pas différentes. Lorsque le nouveau monument de l'Afghanistan sera construit, je suis convaincue qu'il servira de lieu de rassemblement pour raconter maintes nouvelles histoires dont certaines sont encore inédites. On behalf of the Canadian War Museum, thank you for being here. Merci d'être des nôtres aujourd'hui.
Merci, Caroline. Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting us all here today. I'd like now to invite Canada's Minister of Veterans Affairs, the Honourable Lawrence MacAulay, to make today's announcements.
Merci, Ken, Adrian Stimson, Caroline, Veteran, membre des Forces armées, Ministre Sajjan, parlementaire, distingués invités, bonjour tout le monde. September 2001 marked a global turning point. On that day, and the ones that followed, the lives of so many people were about to change. The women and men in the Canadian Armed Forces who were already serving were about to be joined by new recruits. Canadians from across the country who signed up to protect peace, democracy, and protect the most vulnerable. They were joined by civilians, diplomats, journalists, all doing their part in the conflict. For the next 12 years, family members back home watched the news and waited to hear from their loved ones. I cannot imagine what that would be like. Although Canadian troops found themselves thousands of kilometers from friends and family, they brought Canada with them, building hockey rinks in the desert, drinking coffee from Tim Hortons. But the dangers they faced were all too real. 158 Canadian service members, a journalist, Canadian diplomat, and a Canadian contractor all paid the supreme sacrifice. Of the more than 40,000 members of the Canadian Armed Forces who served in Afghanistan, many were injured, marked with the physical and hidden scars of war. Today we're here to unveil a monument design that has the difficult task of capturing all of these experiences and so many more. Through this process, we reached out to veterans and their families, spoke to many organizations, and heard directly from Canadians about how you wanted this mission to be remembered. To all of you who served, and to all the families who stood by you, this moment is yours. It will be a place to capture your memories, a place of reflection, and a place to gather to remember those who never returned. Thank you to all the finalists and all the hard work to put this together. Each of your designs showcased a unique and thoughtful way to honor the sacrifice Canadian service members and Canadians who served in Afghanistan. Today it is my honor to announce that the selection design for the National Monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan is from Team Stimson. Congratulations. I would like now to invite some people who have had a close connection to the mission to help me unveil the design. Thank you to those joining me for your service in Afghanistan and taking part in this morning. Please welcome retired Corporal Nicholas Hubert and his daughter, Costanza. Thank you so much. Right? I'm sorry. All right, I'd like to ask Petty Officer First Class Charlotte McShane and Sergeant Missy Deshane to please come forward. And Warrant Officer Sean Stonas and Sergeant Jeff Andrews. On behalf of the Government of Canada, thank you to everyone who has so far contributed to this creation of the National Monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan. Thank you to our veterans and to all the families who helped them serve. And congratulations to Team Stimson. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. I'll now invite our colleagues to have a seat. Thank you very much for participating in the unveiling. And I'll invite our Parliamentary Secretary, Darrell Samson, to come up. J'inviterai maintenant le secrétaire parlementaire au ministère des Anciens combattants, Darrell Samson, à vous adresser la parole. Merci.
Bonjour et merci pour être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. Je suis le député de Sackville-Preston-Chesapeake qui se situe en Nouvelle-Écosse et j'ai toujours l'honneur de dire que je suis le représentant qui a le plus grand nombre de membres actifs et vétérans de la circonscription de Sackville-Preston-Chesapeake au Canada par la CIO, bien sûr. Le 11 septembre 2001, les jours et mois qui ont suivi ont basculé nos vies. Mais c'est surtout le visage des forces armées canadiennes qui a changé quand de nombreux Canadiens, d'océan à l'autre, ont joint l'armée pour protéger la paix, la démocratie et bien sûr les gens les plus vulnérables. Pendant 12 ans qui ont suivi, ils ont fièrement et courageusement servi de la mission du combat du Canada en Afghanistan. Loin de leur être chers, ils se sont adaptés au dessert afghan avec des traditions canadiennes, en jouant au hockey avec leurs bottines et buvant du café de Tim Hortons, un soulagement temporaire lors d'une mission à fort enjeu. En tout, 158 membres des forces, un journaliste, un diplomate, un entrepreneur civil y ont perdu leur vie. Et parmi les plus de 40 000 Canadiens qui ont servi de la région, plusieurs ont été blessés et portent toujours des cicatrices visibles et invisibles de la guerre. Aujourd'hui, nous dévoilons le concept du monument qui nous rappellera à jamais le rôle que nos troupes ont joué pour apporter la paix et la stabilité en Afghanistan après les attaques terroristes. Ce sont les vétérans et leurs familles, les organismes consultés et les Canadiens de partout au pays qui nous ont dit comment ils voulaient commémorer la mission. Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes fiers d'annoncer que c'est le concept de l'équipe Stimson qui a été retenu. Le concept reflète parfaitement les aspects intellectuels, émotionnels, spirituels et physiques de la guerre, tant du point de vue canadien que celui d'Afghan. Lorsque le monument sera terminé, il constituera un hommage approprié au sacrifice à tous ceux qui ont participé à la mission et ceux qui les ont soutenus et à la mémoire de ceux que nous avons perdus. Au nom du gouvernement du Canada, merci à tous ceux qui ont contribué jusqu'à présent à la création du monument commémoratif national à la mission du Canada en Afghanistan. Et félicitations à l'équipe Stimson d'avoir proposé le concept sélectionné. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Mr. Samson. Adrian Stimson is a member of the Siksika Blackfoot First Nation in southern Alberta, and also a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. He was part of the Katimavik military option and served at CFB Esquimalt. Adrian has been to Afghanistan, and through his art has tried to capture what he and other Canadians experienced while there. I'd like to now congratulate and invite Adrian to tell us about his team Stimson came up with their concept for the monument. Adrian. And perhaps a round of applause as he comes up.
Ok, kwekwe, salam alaikum, bonjour, and good morning, families of the fallen, honorable ministers, deputy ministers, veterans, distinguished guests, friends, and family. Team Stimson is absolutely delighted and honored to have our design selected for the National Monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan, here in Ottawa, on an Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. This monument will serve as a lasting tribute to the commitment and sacrifice of Canadians in helping to rebuild Afghanistan. Team Stimson is Christine Liu and Alan Webb of Liu Webb Projects, who have had the foresight to form this team and have managed this project with precision and care. Jana Joyce and her team at MBTW Group, who have created an inspired landscape guided by Indigenous knowledge and a rigorous design consultation process. Happy Grove, who assisted with research, administration, and design. And myself, Adrian Stimson, I am an artist and former member of Canada's military. As a civilian artist, took part in the Canadian Forces Artist Program, which sent me to Afghanistan in 2010. Oh, and I can't forget the youngest member of our team, Agnes. We watched you grow up during this process. I also wish to thank Elder Dr. Clarence Wolfleg, Siksika veteran, for his guidance, prayers, and continued support. Our design journey has been an amazing one. To sit with the names of the fallen daily, to imagine a sacred space, to reflect, to educate, to remember, to understand, to heal ourselves and our collective being underscores the depth of this journey. We have sought guidance from Indigenous elders, made connections with both past and present military personnel and families, Afghanistan organizations, scholars, writers, Indigenous traditional territorial leaders, artists, and the spiritual realm to vision this most important space. Historically, and to this day, all of Turtle Island holds many sites of honor, landworks and buildings that form sites where people have gone for millennia to honor the ancestors, to seek guidance from the spiritual world, to heal wounds of the mind and body, to connect with others, to tell their stories, thus creating spaces that are recognized as sacred by all who encounter them. These spaces hold the energy and memory of generations of people. This is our intention for this monument. The form of the monument is based on the tenets of the medicine wheel. Medicine wheels are places where an individual or group goes to focus their energies. The teaching of the medicine wheel vary between Indigenous groups, yet they often share the same goals of engaging the mind, touching the heart, connecting to the great mystery, and healing the body. As a war artist, my purpose in Kandahar and Massangar was to observe, record, and interpret life in an artistic way, to experience the daily life of the soldiers. To visit Afghanistan was a privilege, and I will always be grateful to the military members who kept me safe, specifically Warrant Officer Jamie Gilman. While I was there, I became interested in the physical materiality of the bases, the industrial nature of embedding troops into the theater of war. Steel containers, protective stone gabions, concrete barriers, tents, and so on. Keep it low, out of sight, strategically safe. Mimicking this, the monument is a place to be discovered and to be revealed. The monument enlivens as you approach on a meandering pathway, revealing itself slowly with purpose. The interior space of the monument has been created to instill a sense of safety and home, whereas the heart dwells protection, security, introspection, and comfort. This is the sanctuary where the fallen are honored. 3 quadrants honor the fallen. The 4th quadrant, facing in the direction of Afghanistan, will recognize and honor our history, relationships, and future with the Afghan people. The monument focal point is intended to evoke an intimate and personal note. The sculpture will reveal the dichotomy of safety within a war zone, illuminating the risk involved to one's own life. Here at the center, we reference both the duration of the mission and our territorial identity in natural relation to the geolocation of the conflict, uniting and fighting together. Taken together, the space speaks to our ideas of safety, security, and home, and why we fight for it. This is a space to remember and to honor the sacrifice of Canadian soldiers and civilians. It is a testament to Canada's mission of providing the Afghanistan people and government security, aid, reconstruction, and friendship. Now, we are more than just Team Stimson. Together with the families, Veterans Association, the National Capital Commission, contractors, consultants, and whomever participates in its realization. Together, we form a bigger team. Together, we will continue to approach this monument in a good way. Together, we look forward to the process that lies ahead and make this vision a reality for all Canadians. Thank you for this most incredible honor. And we will endeavor to ensure that this monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan will be one that all Canadians will be proud of. Thank you. And now our video.
My name is Adrian Stimson, Siksika artist with a history in the Canadian Forces. My own experience in Afghanistan informs my art, and I consider this to be a meaningful evolution of that. Our circular design is drawn from the medicine wheel, with 4 portals oriented in the cardinal directions. Each portal has 2 walls presenting stories from both Canadian and Afghanistan perspectives, all within a landscape of native plantings. The north explores the intellectual aspects of war, the east, the emotional, with stories from families and Afghan poetry. The south is for spiritual reflection, and the west relates to the physical, veterans, PTSD, and mental health. The interior evokes the feeling of safety within a forward operating base. Curved corten steel walls feature names of the fallen. In the center, 4 bronze flak jackets stand draped on crosses. I saw these firsthand, utilitarian and yet poignant reminders of protection. They encircle a map of Afghanistan and 13 maple leaves, 1 for each province and territory, and the 13-year mission. Each portal is an entrance unto itself, yet taken together they create a deeper opportunity to honor and reflect, to seek balance and healing for all Canadians.
Thank you, Team Stinson. Very inspiring. I'd now like to invite the Honourable Harjit Sajjan, Minister of International Development, to speak briefly about his time in Afghanistan and offer some reflections about what the monument means to him as a veteran of the mission.
Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. In days like this, it's hard to talk like a minister because so much sacrifice has been given in Afghanistan. And to the families of our fallen, my message to you is I just want to thank you for your sacrifice. Your fallen have made a difference in the people's lives, saved lives, and saved so many lives and give them hope. So thank you for this. For the parliamentarians, senators who have served in Afghanistan, I want to acknowledge your service as well. Thank you for your advocacy. And to Team Stimson, thank you for capturing the essence of that mission. And it's just listening to the video there just brings back a lot of memories, and I think you really have accomplished that mission, so thank you. For me, it's an immense privilege to be standing here with all of you today, because as a veteran, and I think I can speak for all veterans here today, because during my 3 tours over a number of years, I got to serve alongside the most courageous, outstanding, and valiant Canadians. And that's why today is especially meaningful. And with this monument, Canada's tremendous contribution and sacrifice in Afghanistan will be forever remembered. Now, as a major contributor to the mission, Canada helped rebuild Afghanistan and keep Canadians safe. Now, this is not the future that we have hoped for Afghanistan, but we cannot select the course for their destiny. But despite the current conditions in Afghanistan, we must accept the fact that Canadian and international efforts helped a generation of Afghans. We helped advance human rights, help participate in more inclusive society, help achieve a higher standard of living with reduced infant mortality and to expand life expectancy, and help millions of children, especially girls, to attend school. And we know that these rights are under threat currently in Afghanistan, but Afghans, and especially Afghan women, who continue to speak up for their rights. Because of that sacrifice that was made, it has given them hope to continue that fight. And I've heard from Afghans who have said that it is because of the support that Afghans received and continue to receive from Canada and international community that they will continue to have the strength to fight on. Our Canadian efforts and sacrifices allowed Afghans to dream and help them pursue these dreams, to dream for a better life. And that dream will continue. To dream of a society in which all their citizens have a voice in society which all their rights are respected. And my message to them is, make no mistake, Canada's commitment to the Afghan people has not wavered, and especially to the women and girls. We will continue to support them. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister Sajjan. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings today's live stream event to a close. Thank you to everyone for joining us here today and for watching on Facebook for those watching. Merci à tous qui ont regardé sur Facebook. I'm very privileged as well to be here today as a veteran of the mission in Afghanistan. And it's wonderful to see and so inspirational. We'll now proceed with a photo opportunity over here and a media availability before we proceed to the site location across the street. So nous allons maintenant procéder à une séance de photos et une rencontre avec les médias avant de se rendre sur le site du monument futur. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. We will remember.
Our minister says, start things off here is, a quick comment just on, what it means to you being here today for the unveiling of the Afghan memorial design.
Well, of course, it's a great honor for me, but the important part is that we're paying respect to the people who went to Afghanistan, the 40,000 troops that went, and the families that stayed back and were so concerned about what would take place over there. And of course, there was a number of people paid the ultimate sacrifice, and that's what's the thought that comes into my mind. All of these ceremonies bring tears to your eyes because this is put together because people paid the ultimate sacrifice, and it hurt families, tore them forever. That's what you have to remember, and it's such a task to decide which monument should be used, but to be able to put everything together and to pay the appropriate respect is so important. And we feel that we have done that, and the veterans feel we have done that, so I'm thankful.
And of course, as veterans return, especially Afghan vets, PTSD is very prevalent among veterans who came back, and goes to the issue we saw last year of the one veteran being offered made by a veteran affairs worker. Training been completed, around made for VAC agents and support staff.
They will always continue to make sure that our frontline officers are trained to make sure the likes of this never happens again. It was totally inappropriate. It was one individual that did this, but that's one individual too many, so we have to make sure the likes of that never happens again, and we'll do everything in our power to make sure that does not happen again. That's why training is so important, yes.
So is this going to be like ongoing training, or has everyone working with veterans been trained at this point?
The deputy could answer that, but to make sure that everybody, my direction is to make sure that everybody that deals with veterans are trained and to make sure the likes of this never happens again. But there has to be ongoing training on other issues. This was an issue that took place, but we have to make sure other issues do not take place. Inappropriate statements made to veterans who were suffering, to say the least. It's totally inappropriate, and I will do everything in my power to make sure the likes of that does not happen again.
And in just about an hour's time, the head of the union the head of the Veterans Union is going to be up with the NDP calling for an end of what they're calling the outsourcing contract on LifeMark to help provide mental health services. Are you satisfied with the work happening with this contract? There are several veterans who are saying they aren't getting the support they need, and it feels like they're just being shuffled through the system at this point.
I'm certainly very happy with the contract, and of course it's an expanded contract, as you're aware. It provides health assistance to 14,000 veterans. I think it's now up to 12,000 professionals that are dealing with the veteran. I think we started with about 600 locations. That's up to 800. My job is to make sure that we provide the services for veterans when they need it and where they need it, and that's what we're doing with this contract.
But Minister, there's still a tremendous backlog in your department. So what can you say about you're saying this is front and center for you? What's being done to address that?
The backlog?
Yeah.
As you're fully aware, the backlog was at 23,000 when I became minister. I said it was my number one priority. Today it's under 6,000. Unacceptable. We will get to the national standard this summer, as I indicated when I became minister, and we will reach that goal. But we have to continue to make sure that we have the staff in place in order to address these issues. We have, and we will continue to.
And Deputy Minister, maybe I'll answer the one question just on where we're at and making sure all VAC workers are trained up on how to properly handle MAID.
Well, as a minister,
He's the parliamentary secretary.
Yeah.
Oh, parliamentary secretary. Sorry, my bad. Getting the positions changed up. Sorry about that.
okay.
We'll email the DM.
No,
Apologies.
I can jump in.
Whatever.
I'm the associate deputy.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, the training has been done, but as you know, since last summer, more staff have come in, so we're ensuring that training continues to everybody who comes into Veterans Affairs Canada.
But what I don't want to say is that we've ended the training. We're not going to do any more training. It's ongoing to make sure that the staff are trained up and the likes of this does not happen. When we're dealing with human beings, we have to make sure that we do everything possible that the likes of this does not happen again. As Ken said, we are doing that and we'll continue to do that.
goes back to the topic at hand today, Minister. If you can just explain why you went with the selection that you did.
I went with this selection, or we went with this selection, because it was veterans wanted. We had a survey, I think it was about 10,000 responses. It'll be online very shortly, open to the public. And the majority of the veterans wanted this model, and that's why I chose it, because the veterans want it, Afghan veterans want it. I feel that's what we should do, and we feel that's what we should do. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Minister. Right now, Mr. Stimson, if you want to step right up. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to talk with us, and congratulations to you and the rest of the team.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, we'll let the cameras finish up, and we'll wait for their go-ahead.
Get you forward, then our light selection.
You bet.
All right. Finish, yeah. All like last little finagling. Good, be good?
Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, Mr. Simpson, so start things off here. Just what can you tell us about your initial reaction when you got the news that your team's design was going to become the permanent monument?
Well, I was traveling across from Saskatchewan to Alberta, and we got the call, and I had to stop the truck and listen to the news, and tears filled my eyes. It was one of joy and excitement, and also a little bit of that moment of, oh my goodness, we have a journey to go ahead, and so we're looking forward to that.
You say you spoke in great detail in your speech and in the video, but you might just give us a bit of the Cliff Notes version of where the inspiration came from for this particular design.
Oh, absolutely. I took part in the Canadian Forces Artist Program in 2010, which sent me to Afghanistan, Kandahar, Camp Mirage, and Massingaw, the forward operating base. So for me, spending time on the base, just given that the freedom to walk around and take a look at the infrastructure, sort of the materiality, the industrial nature of war and containers and such. So for me, it was really that sense of the home base, the forward operating base, and that sense of security and home. And so for me, that was the main aspect. But the other part, too, was just really having the opportunity to spend time with the soldiers and to hear their stories and to hopefully create a design that really spoke to their experience. And so that was the inspiration.
Yeah. Can you tell us what led you to that Armed Forces Artist Program? I'm curious why you wanted to be part of it.
Well, as an artist, we always look for various opportunities, and I myself was in the military back in 1982 in the Katimavik military option, and my family as well has a long history in the military. So for me, I was very interested in seeing for myself the conflict and being there, and so that's what led me to apply to the Canadian Forces Artist Program, for which Canada has a long and amazing history of war artists, and to be a part of that was something that I was very interested in and honored to be a part of.
And just when you were giving your thanks up there, you did identify one particular warrant officer. What's the story there?
Now warrant officer Jamie Gilman. He was the officer who was assigned to take care of me while I was there and make sure I was safe. But coincidentally, he's from a First Nation, Gordon's First Nations, which I spent time on as a child. So these wonderful coincidences. And I know when I came in, he also received medicines of tobacco, cedar, sage, and sweetgrass. And together, we were able to share a moment of ceremony. And it was him that really sort of took care of me. And to this day, we still have a friendship.
That's great to hear. And just, what's next for you and the rest of the team as this heads into the actual construction process?
Oh, we got a lot of work to do, a lot of great work to do, and as I mentioned, in a good way, to keep the momentum going and to ensure, it's been a few years since the call, so of course we have to review all the documents, our 105-page document we created, and bring it up to date, and now that we have further access to the Military and Veterans Affairs, to ensure that the several aspects of it are correct and get the approval of the military.
Yeah, and apologies, it's in the written materials, but do you happen to know if there's a projected completion date for when the monument will be a reality?
Not at this point. There was, in the original proposal, it's about a 2 to 3 year process. So I expect that that's what we're going to stick with. But like anything these days, there's always a few variables that we have to consider. But we are fully prepared to get this project done in a timely and manner. And a good
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Stimson.
Thanks.
Thank you.